people understand just how dominant orcas are. It's not just the fact that they weigh 8,000 pounds or that they can swim 35 miles an hour, but they're also one of the most intelligent creatures on the planet. And they hunt in packs. You want to see how they hunt? Check it out. Basically, they swim in perfect unison, send a perfect wave, knock the seal off, and there's an orca waiting on the other side. If the ice is surrounded by other ice, they'll literally drag it out into open water. That's what I would do. They think like us. They're also known to kick great white sharks out of their hunting zone to take over all the food. They're also the only creature in the ocean known to attack blue whales. Other creatures can't figure out how to deal with a blue whale, but orcas learned that if they swim 35 miles an hour straight into its organs, that works.
There's nothing I can tell you that'll prepare you for what you're about to see. Hide the children, this is one of those videos that's going to test just how far guidelines will let me go. This picture was taken back in August and it shows two male river dolphins playing with a snake. Except, when the photographer took a closer look, he realized both males were also bricked up in the process. Their soldiers were very much at attention. And it wasn't just any snake they were playing with. That was actually a Benny anaconda. As in the kind that can be 14 feet long, and factory reset it came in with a hug. The two dolphins were basically passing the snake back and forth while also being very noticeably difficult. As for the snake, yeah, not a good time to not have hands, because this would have been a great time to throw him. The anaconda ended up becoming a was after being held underwater too long. I think we can agree if nature had morals, dolphins would share a bunk bed with Weinstein. Dolphins have been known to use live eels, other non-consenting dolphins, and even the decapitated head of a past tense fish. But doing it while also waterboarding a snake is definitely a new one. Moral of this video, anaconda don't want none. I just want to say that this animal would be legitimately terrifying if it lived near people. This right here. Leopard seals would legitimately rock our world in more ways than one. First of all, they're bigger than you think. They could be like 12 feet long and weigh a good 1,200 pounds. You could literally double me and I'd still come up short. Also, you want to hear a messed up joke? What does a leopard seal's favorite fast food spot and a cartoon sailor from the 30s have in common? Popeye. Like, you're really not going to tell me this isn't some prehistoric rubber land shark or a paraplegic velociraptor. Like, we're lucky they're only the op of Happy Feet and rarely attack people. But the one time a leopard seal did catch a body was when it grabbed a researcher, dragged her underwater, and proceeded to maul her for 6 minutes straight until she drowned. Also, I said they don't live near people, but some of them have been airdropping to Australia because Australia has a magnet for Jurassic bullshit. On a lighter note, a leopard seal adopted a photographer and spent a week trying to feed him soul-evacuated penguins because he assumed he couldn't do it for himself. That's probably the most wholesome story you're gonna get out of them.
We officially have a new record in the animal kingdom. The bar-tailed godwit just set the record for the longest flight without landing. 8,425 miles. That's further than the diameter of the earth. It flew for 11 days straight from Alaska to Tasmania, Australia. Welcome to the record books. There are birds that intentionally start forest fires. This takes place in parts of Australia by certain birds like the black kite, the whistling kite, and the brown falcon. These birds learn that if they take a stick that's on fire and drop it into the middle of the forest, it'll ignite the whole thing on fire, thus drawing out all of the prey. They'll sit at the top of nearby safer trees and wait for everything to run from their home. Birds are evolving.
I don't know what the hell that is. Is it a lynx? What is that?
That, my friends, is a bobcat. Which means you're right, because the bobcat is part of the lynx family. You could tell a bobcat apart from other lynx by its shorter ears, its spotted fur, and the patterns on its tail. They have this white band of fur underneath a black tip. The bobcat's name is notorious, but they're actually really small and serve almost no threat to humans. However, if you have pets, I'd keep an eye out.
Here's a fun fact for your serotonin. So in the late 50s, early 60s, this guy Dmitry Belayev was curious about the process of domestication and basically wanted to see if we could take what we did with the wolf and do the same thing with a species of fox. So he and his team started breeding silver foxes, and just to prove that he could, he would start with the foxes that didn't trust people at all and were overly aggressive and defensive. So they would breed these silver foxes, and after every generation, he would only pick the ones that showed the least amount of fear in humans. After a couple rounds, they created a fox that not only wasn't afraid of people, but would go out of their way to seek human companionship. These foxes were known as the elites, and the more generations they bred, the more elites started popping up. Like after the 10th generation, 18% of the pups born were elites. After the 20th generation, it was 35%. And these elite silver foxes were basically domesticated and would often wag their tail and lick their human caretakers as a way of showing affection, the same way pet dogs do. And some of these builder foxes had spotted coats, floppy ears, and a curled tail. All things you would never see from a wild fox. After about 50 years of character development, now 70 to 80% of the new generation of silver foxes are elites. So now there's a population of domesticated silver foxes that some people actually have as pets. But there's a catch. Bringing one to the US can make your wallet 10 grand lighter, and foxes as pets are actually banned in a lot of states. And even though they're considered domesticated, they're still pretty unpredictable. And by that I mean they still scream at night and pee everywhere. It's like having children without the tax credit. But somewhere in the world it's possible to own a silver fox, and if you weren't having a good day before, you can have a great one now. This might be the video that gets me in the TikTok beat, but at this point y'all can go ahead and tag him because this has to be said. Pelicans aren't one of the most demonic birds in the world. They're one of the most demonic things alive. When pelicans are low on their usual food source, this walking garbage disposal will resort to eating other birds like pigeons, seagulls, ducks, especially ducklings. Some were even recorded swallowing African penguin chicks. In fact, pelicans will walk through a colony of nesting Cape gannets and push their parents out the way just so they can devour the helpless gannet chicks right in front of those same parents. Yeah, imagine being a day old and this is the last thing you ever see. And since pelicans obviously don't have teeth, any chick that gets swallowed spends its last moments suffocating while being forced down its trash chute of a throat, only to get digested alive by corrosive stomach acid. Also, tell me they're not walking through this nursery like it's a f***ing Walmart. Somehow, it gets worse. Like a lot of birds, pelicans feed their chicks by regurgitating whatever war prisoners were being stored in its bottomless pit of a stomach. Which means, instead of fish, some baby pelicans legitimately get raised on the half-digested corpses of recently murdered baby birds. Since pelicans will attempt to deep-throat literally anything, if this feathery sarlacc was any bigger, they would 100% be eating us alive. And it's not like they haven't tried. It's like if Satan had a bird-watching phase and a vor fetish and turned it into an animal. And just for the record, this thing right here, it isn't a true stork. It's a type of pelican. Go figure. Hank, I respect you and I appreciate you. There is nothing you can say that will make me unsee this.
If you really want to know, the biggest spider in the world is the Goliath bird eater. The name alone tells you so much, like they eat birds. And they eat other small vertebrates like frogs and rodents and lizards. They're located in the northern part of South America, like Brazil and Venezuela. This spider has almost a 1-foot leg span and weighs almost a half a pound. And that's not to mention that they also have the biggest fangs of any spider as well. But if it makes you feel any better, a bite from one of these would pretty much do nothing to a human. Follow for more fun facts. This is Petals the bear. He's an American black bear from New Jersey who's famous for walking on 2 legs. Check it out. The reason Petals walked on 2 legs wasn't because he wanted to be a human. It's because he had sustained severe injuries to his front paws. When videos originally surfaced of Petals in 2014, people instantly deemed it as fake and a guy in a bear suit. It wasn't until 2016 that videos of Petals flooded the internet everywhere and people realized he was the real deal. Unfortunately, in late 2016, Petals was hunted during season. But his story in the videos will live on forever.
Penguins are far from innocent. In fact, they're as nasty as it gets. This little guy is an Adelie penguin and they're honestly just formal frat boys. Just look how he's dressed. Your suit doesn't hide your sins. Adelie males will mate with literally anything. Adelie males have been seen inviting themselves onto injured females, other males, unsupervised chicks, and once again I'm blocking this out for your mental health. Just because I have to see it doesn't mean you should. Honestly, if you have a pulse, you're its type. That wasn't even true because once a scientist witnessed male Adelies without a partner attempt to mate with the ground. To completion, by the way. In one case, a dead penguin had been frozen over in a position that I can only assume was a little too similar to the mating posture. That was all the males needed to give the ice-chilled corpse the treatment. One scientist decided to take it even further by placing only the frozen disembodied head of a penguin on a rock just to see how low the males could go. Apparently low enough to forever traumatize the scientist and guarantee that his therapist never has to touch storebrand. Once again, to completion. Penguins aren't the only things to resort to acts of the necro, but penguins insist on being really f***ing weird about it. Adelies will sleep with anything with a heartbeat, and even that's not a deal breaker. Like this would legitimately be considered a sext to an Adelie. Even the emperor penguin isn't all that royal. Emperor penguins have to raise children in one of the worst area codes in the world. It's so bad that if an egg rolls onto the ground unprotected for less than a minute, the chick inside is already gone. Which means by the end of the brutal 4-month winter, there's a lot of penguin parents with an empty nest. But not only will some attempt to fill the void by kidnapping someone else's chick, it only takes a few days or even hours for the foster parent to get bored and leave the forcefully adopted chick to die. Either by starvation or worse, by getting violated by the flying booty warrior that is the giant petrel. You see how it all comes full circle? Because penguins invest so much energy into one baby, losing one can drive mothers to satisfy their maternal instincts by kidnapping. But of course this also means that once the instinct wears off like post-acorn clarity, the mother basically murders the chick through sheer negligence. And there's only one good thing about this. Next time you see a leopard seal ordering Popeyes, you won't feel as bad.
Watch this guy on there. Is that normal? No. What is that?
So sharks have this reboot feature where they go into a trance-like state and can't move at all. It's called tonic immobility and it usually lasts for about 60 seconds, but it can go on for up to 15 minutes when left alone. You can also trigger it yourself by rubbing a shark's snout near its eyes. And once the shark snaps out of it, it goes back to whatever it was doing like nothing ever happened. We don't know for sure why they do this, but most scientists believe it has something to do with mating. It also could be because sharks use electroreception to figure out where they and other animals around them are. It's like an already installed GPS. So flipping a shark upside down probably just disorients them, and tonic immobility stops them from moving and thrashing around until they can readjust themselves. Also, this can and has been used against them. Once off the coast of California, a female orca held a great white shark upside down for 15 minutes. Since the shark was paralyzed and couldn't escape, it ended up suffocating to death. Which is probably why a waterproof Oreo can legitimately traumatize a shark for an entire year. No, seriously, sharks will avoid an area for a whole trip around the sun if they run into an orca once out of fear of being factory reset by them.
What if I were to tell you that the most venomous creature on the planet is not a snake or a spider, but rather the box jellyfish? Just like all venomous things, they're found off the coast of Australia. It's not the most potent venom considering they have to inject a lot into you, but when they do, it can be fatal within 3 minutes. That's only 180 seconds after the sting. That's almost 3 times as fast as the fastest snake, which is the king cobra, at about 8 minutes. And this is why I'm scared of the ocean. We're back with another battle. Hippo versus grizzly. Let's get into it. A grizzly bear weighs around 700 pounds. They also have a 1,200 pound bite force and 6-inch claws. Not to mention, they could stand on 2 legs. That'll help them avoid the hippo's mouth. However, hippos weigh upwards of 4,000 pounds. That's more than 5 times the weight of the grizzly bear. They also have an 1,800 pound bite force, and their mouth opens wide enough to fit a sports car inside. The grizzly has more weapons, but the hippo's size difference is just way too much. And for that, the hippo wins pretty easily.
Something about this bird makes me horny for death. This bird is the Pesquet's parrot, but it's also more appropriately called the Dracula parrot, for obvious reasons. But they don't drink blood. They have other birds for that. They're found in only 2 places in the world. One of them is in the mountainous rainforest of New Guinea. The other's in my personal hell, because I just know this emo big bird's gonna be waiting for me. Speaking of big, this parrot can grow to 1.5 feet long, which is pretty big for a parrot. Just like vultures, they have less feathers on their head. But instead of tossing a dead zebra salad, these parrots eat sticky, syrupy fruits that would get caught in their feathers and mat them down. Basically, their logic is your hair can't get dirty if you're bald. It also makes them look like grunge punk rock pigeons. Some parrots can talk. This one screams Last Resort by Papa Roach. While they're not technically endangered, they are close to it. Mostly because habitat loss and us hunting them. If there's one thing about us, we are every animal's paralysis demon. If I ever made a video on the most toxic animal relationships, this would be a Hall of Fame choice. This is an anglerfish. Same one that nearly made Nemo an orphan. Male anglerfish are about 40 times smaller than the female. That's like a 5'8" girl cuffing a dude less than 2 inches tall. When a male does find a female, he'll bite her and then cling to her for life. Her jaws and face will actually fuse into her skin. His body degenerates and his internal organs will even disappear. The male never needs to eat because he just steals all the nutrients straight from the female's body after his blood vessels eventually fuse with hers. And this is after the first date. Eventually the guy anglerfish just becomes a lump on the female's body whose only purpose in life is to fertilize her eggs. He basically turns into a genital wart. But the worst part of it all? He's not the only one she has. Some female anglerfish can have multiple male lumps that used to be fish permanently stuck to her. He basically sells his soul to be an STD, and the baby she pops out still might not even be his. And it's so weird that for a long time, scientists just thought those lumps were extra fins. Turned out it was a he-herpy that got way too attached on the first link. Basically, imagine going on a blind date. And before you can even find out his favorite color, he just fuses with you. Like on some up Steven Universe timing. And then he just stays there. Forever. Literally, the only thing that ends the relationship is you flatlining. And now you see why she wanted to put Nemo in the system.
Fun facts about dinosaurs. I'm sorry to the Jurassic Park fans, but the Velociraptor was actually only the size of a turkey. However, a different raptor, known as the Utah Raptor, were actually this size. When dinosaurs were around, they were on all 7 continents, including Antarctica. The T-Rex lived closer in time to us humans than it did the Stegosaurus. Speaking of the T-Rex, its closest living relative is the chicken. It's been like 20 videos straight of this user commenting, "Where's my badger fact?" The dedication is unmatched. You got your badger fact. There are at least 11 different species of badgers, and they are 100% carnivores. The honey badger gets its name because it loves eating honeycombs with the bees in it. It's known to take hundreds of stings and go unfazed. Badgers are also venom resistant, which is why they often fight snakes. And this is my favorite fact. Badgers like to group up to hunt, but not with each other, with other animals. It's actually very common to see badgers traveling with coyotes to make the hunting process easier. You may think the most successful predator on the planet would be something like wolves, who are successful 20% of the time, or lions at 25%. But it's actually the dragonfly at a 95% success rate. But what's crazier is how they do it. They begin to fixate on their prey's movements, almost becoming one with them. At this point, they can begin reading them almost telepathically and intercept them in mid-movement. Scientists say they do it with almost flawless precision every single time. Just to think there was giant dragonflies in the ancient times. This is the spotted lanternfly. It's a highly invasive species native to China and Japan. They eat a lot of important crops, and they populate so fast that they're actually considered a high-level threat to agriculture. And therefore, places that they're located have to go into quarantine. And as of 2014, they made their way to the US. They started off in Pennsylvania. The blue is where they quarantined. By 2020, they infested half of Pennsylvania, and now they occupy 14 different states. And as you can see, it doesn't look like it's slowing down. The Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture even released a wanted sign telling people to squish them if they see them. We must not let them make it to the West. Fun facts about dogs. The song A Day in the Life by the Beatles has a sound in it that only dogs can hear. Basenji dogs don't bark. They yodel. The Saluki is the oldest dog breed, and it dates back to 329 BC. Like our fingerprints, a dog's nose print is always unique. The Labrador Retriever has been the #1 most popular dog breed in the United States for 30 straight years.